Okay, so tonight's speaker is Penny Zhang. She's a student at McGill University. She will give a presentation about nonviolent communication, a way that allows our natural compassion and empathy to flourish. With a presentation entitled Nonviolent Communication, please help me welcome Penny Zhang.
Hey everyone, just a minute. I'm going to share my screen. Yeah, okay, perfect. Can you all see it? Okay.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. Hi everyone. Today I just want to share some notes from a book that I'm reading recently. It's called Nonviolent Communication, A Language of Life. I want to share it actually because while reading it, I've discovered that there are so many ways of like how to better communicate. And I've always been communicating in a wrong way with my friends, with my family, with my partner. So I really want to share it, like share some insights with you. So the first point, what is nonviolent communication? NVC helps us connect with each other and ourselves in a way that allows our natural compassion to flourish. It guides us to reframe the way we express ourselves and listen to others by focusing our consciousness on 4 areas: what we are observing, feeling, needing, and what we are requesting to enrich our lives. So it's just 4 areas: observation, feeling, our needs, and our requests. It fosters deep listening, respect, and empathy, and engenders a mutual desire to give from the heart. So actually, the first characteristic of nonviolent communication that I want to talk about is life-alienating communication. So one form of it is the use of moralistic judgments that imply wrongness or badness on the parts of those who don't act in harmony with our values. It is a language with words that classify and dichotomize people and their actions. For example, when we speak this language, we judge others and their behavior while preoccupying ourselves with who's good, bad, normal, or abnormal, responsible, or irresponsible. So another one is the use of comparisons, which can block compassion both for others and for ourselves. Just a small example. My parents often compare me with their friends or their neighbors' children, and that is actually a very bad parenting example. And life-alienating communication can also obscure our awareness that we are each responsible for our own thoughts, feelings, and actions. We often try to deny our responsibility when we're speaking. For example, by saying, "You make me feel guilty," or "I have to, that's an order, that's the company policy, that's the law." When saying these words, we're actually attributing the cause of our action to factors outside ourselves. So that's the denial of the responsibility. The last characteristic of language that blocks compassion is communicating our desires in the form of demands. It is common, especially among those who hold positions of authority and power, for example, parents, teachers, and managers. That's why we need to differentiate requests from demands. A demand is never accompanied by empathy. So the second point is how to make an observation without evaluating or judging others. There are many examples to deliver an observation in a peaceful way. For example, you need to take responsibility for your observation. Instead of giving a mere conclusion, for example, you're too generous, it's better to say, "When I see you do something, I think you're too generous." For example, "When I see you give all your lunch money to others, I think you're too generous." We should also use words without evaluative connotations or inferences. So instead of saying "he procrastinates" or "she won't get her work in," it's better to say "he only studies for exams the night before," or I don't think she'll get her work in." Also, we need to be very specific about reference. For example, to say that immigrants don't take care of their property doesn't sound right. It's better to say, "I have not seen the immigrant family living next to me shovel the snow on their sidewalk." So generally, evaluation limits our perception of the totality of another human being. However, it is difficult to make observations that are free of judgment, criticism, or other forms of analysis. That's why we need to keep trying our best. The third point that I want to share is identifying and expressing feelings, which is a very important component of nonviolent communication. Allowing ourselves to be vulnerable by expressing our feelings can help resolve conflicts. However, it is very easy for us to think that we're genuinely expressing our feelings when we're not. NVC distinguishes the expression of actual feelings from words and statements that describe thoughts, assessment, and interpretations. So these are two very different concepts. The expression of actual feelings and the words that describes thoughts, assessments, and interpretations. In general, feelings are not being clearly expressed when the word feel is followed by one, words such as that, like, or as if. For example, I feel that you should know better. I feel like a failure. I feel as if I'm living with a wall. The second point is when the word feel is followed by the pronouns I, you, he, she, they, it. I feel I am constantly on call. I feel it is worthless. It is useless. And the last point is when the word feel is followed by names or nouns referring to people. I feel Amy has been pretty responsible. I feel my boss is being manipulative. So these are the circumstances where feelings are not being clearly expressed. And in these sentences, I just want to say one more thing. In these sentences, the phrase I feel can simply be replaced by I think. So it's really not expressing any feelings because you are only describing your thoughts and opinions. And we can look at actual examples of identifying and expressing feelings. So NVC distinguishes between words that express actual feelings and those that describe what we think we are or how we interpret others. For example, the sentence, I feel inadequate as a guitar player, does not express my feeling, as the actual feeling behind my assessment of myself as inadequate could be disappointment, impatience, frustration, or some other emotions. The same goes with I feel unimportant to the people with whom I work with, or I feel misunderstood, I feel ignored. Because when we're saying these, we're describing how we interpret others. So instead, it's better to say, I feel disappointed in myself as a guitar player, or I feel frustrated, because the feeling of disappointment and frustration, they are real feelings. They're not your thoughts, they're not your assessment of yourself and others. The last point I want to talk about is taking responsibility for our behaviors. So what others say and do may be the stimulus, but never the cause of our feelings. When someone gives us a negative message, we have four options: blame ourselves, blame others, sense our own feelings and needs, and sensing others' feelings and needs. For example, if somebody gives us the response, you are the most self-centered person I've ever met, we can have four different options. To blame ourselves, oh, I should have been more sensitive, or to blame others, you have no right to say that. Or instead, we can sense our own feelings and needs or sense others' feelings and needs. For example, when I hear you say that, I feel hurt because I think something. Or are you feeling hurt because you need more consideration for your preferences? So apparently the last two options are far better than the previous one. We accept responsibility for our feelings by acknowledging our own needs, desires, expectations, values, or thoughts. So compare these two responses. Response A said, you disappointed me by not coming over last evening. So it puts the responsibility solely on the other person. And response B is the more proper one. I was disappointed when you didn't come over because I wanted to talk over something that were bothering me. It identifies very, very well the speaker's own needs and feelings. So that's why response B is better. Actually, in our life, we often use certain speech patterns that mask accountability for our behaviors. For example, the use of impersonal pronouns such as it and that. For example, it really infuriates me when spelling mistakes appear in our public brochures. And also the use of the expression, I feel an emotion because blah, 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 followed by a person or personal pronoun other than I. I feel hurt because you said you don't love me. So in these circumstances, we can deepen our awareness of our own responsibility by using the phrase, I feel because I, to take responsibility for our behaviors. So the first sentence can be transformed to, I feel really infuriated when spelling mistakes like that appear in our public brochures because I want my company to project a professional image. So this is better, far better than the first one, because you are aware of your own responsibility by saying that I feel because I did something. When we express our needs indirectly through the use of evaluations, interpretations, and images, others are very likely to hear criticism. Instead, the more directly we can connect our feelings to our needs, the easier it is for others to respond to us compassionately. So finally, here are some questions that I want to discuss with you. 1, have you noticed yourself using judgments, comparisons, denial of responsibility, or demands in your daily communication? 2, do you think it's difficult to observe without evaluating? 3, do you express your feelings or show your vulnerability a lot in your life? And the last one, have you used the speech patterns that mask accountability for your feelings? And that is the end of my speech. Thank you.